Hello, my friends. Welcome back. And following on from the previous lesson, here we have the topic of stress and how it impacts your fat loss results and your health goals. And it really matters because there is a chronic stress problem with all of us who are fortunate enough to be, all of you who are fortunate enough to be watching this. You are probably, very, I would say in that modern setting where you have the luxury of facing this chronic stress problem. You have a job, you are piled high with work, you're probably earning a decent amount, you have a family, all this kind of stuff. And stress increases cortisol, right? Which we all know, and that can lead to, increased appetite, fat storage, especially around the midsection. It leads to, muscle breakdown over time because stress is very chronic. It also leads to poor recovery from your workouts. And I would say that for many of us in this modern day setting, who are fortunate enough to be in this modern day setting, we oftentimes experience a level of chronic stress that for some people almost feels normal. And sometimes people say, hey, you know what? I don't think I'm stressed. I don't think I'm stressed. But when you get them to describe the entirety of their day and you kind of check in with them truly on a deeper level, you realize that for them, they're just so numb to the high levels of stress that they're actually experiencing. They haven't had time even to kind of decompress or even thought of the idea of decompressing or relieving themselves from the stress. And most often, we find that people like this tend to also come to us with all these other health-related issues, weight-related issues, and things that are starting to really build up at this point. So stress is something you need to really take care of because stress also, when elevated for long periods of time, impacts your digestion, which means it makes your nutrient absorption less efficient. There's this thing between your brain and your stomach called the brain-gut axis. It's basically this whole description of how your brain impacts your gut and how your gut impacts your brain. And it's a two-way street, meaning if you eat stuff that's not so pleasant or your body cannot really handle it, your digestive system gets a very severe reaction to it, it will impact your brain in terms of increasing the stress perception from the brain, and vice versa as well. When you get very, very stressed out, sometimes it can cause indigestion and it can impact your body's ability to digest foods well, to be better able to absorb the nutrients that you're trying to take in. And so this is something that you really need to address. Sometimes we get people, and that's why we get people who, when they are facing very high levels of extreme stress, especially a lot of ladies that I work with, they tend to get very bloated. They tend to feel like they're getting very gastric kind of pains. And yeah, it's very, very common, and it can really impact your results in a way that, it's gonna make you feel very demotivated. So here are some very practical ways to reduce stress. Okay. First thing is you actually want to exercise smarter, not just harder. And this is a very big issue for a lot of people because a lot of times when you are new to exercise, the concept or the idea is that you should be working yourself into the ground, in order to burn those calories, right? Or to tire yourself out so you can maximize the time, that you're exercising. But the reality is you want to make sure that the exercise that you do is sensible in the sense that it is specific for your goals. And most of you that are watching this just want to be healthy, want to be stronger, want to lose some fat and feel good again. Okay. And when those are your goals, what you really need is number one, you need some sort of exercise that's going to strengthen you, okay, as a way of strengthening you up. So some sort of resistance training. You also want an exercise that's going to kind of train your heart to some degree. And so this means doing some kind of cardio sessions and all. So you want to have a very balanced exercise structure that you can follow. And more often than not, if you're just starting from scratch, you're just a beginner, you can actually get away with doing a lot less. Remember, exercise is not meant to burn calories, okay? It burns calories as a byproduct, but it's not the main purpose. Exercise is meant to help strengthen your body and send signals to your body to better use the nutrients it has and to adapt itself. Okay, exercise is meant to help you change the body. Yeah. So you want to exercise smarter, not just harder. In fact, if you exercise smart, you will probably be exercising hard. But if you exercise hard, you won't necessarily be exercising smart. Okay, so the choices of exercise matter a lot. The other ways to reduce stress is mindfulness and breathing exercises. Now, this one might sound a little bit, I would say airy fairy kind of up in the clouds kind of thing. But this is not woo-woo meditation stuff that I'm trying to recommend you do. In fact, I'm just recommending you do very simple, basic breathing exercises. Literally, put a timer on for 2 minutes and then just sit there, close your eyes, and take in deep breaths in and out. Like literally just do that for 2 minutes and see how you feel after that. The reason why this actually works is because when we slow down and take deep breaths, we actually upregulate an aspect of our nervous system that is very synonymous with recovery. This is the parasympathetic part of the nervous system that responds very well to deep breathing exercises. It basically helps us to calm any kind of anxiety. It helps us to kind of um, feel that much calmer and feel less anxious. Basically, it regulates the stress response when you do it that way. Now, could you do other guided meditations? Could you do other things of that nature? You could easily go online, go to YouTube, search for a 10-minute guided meditation. You could do that as well. But sometimes even 10 minutes might seem too daunting for a lot of people. So my suggestion is just set a timer, 1 minute, 2 minutes, and just focus on, close your eyes and just focus on taking in deep breaths in and out. And literally that's all you need to do. And you will feel a ton better after that. So that's a really good way to just kind of take a break. If you feel very stressed out, if you feel overwhelmed, just take a break that way. The last one here is a little bit more, I would say, it's a bit harder for implementation, which is basically prioritize enjoyable activities. Because a lot of times when I suggest this, sometimes people's immediate reaction is like I barely have enough time for myself. I'm so busy, I can't do anything. And this is where I would really want you to consider that you do have your obligations, you do have this entire suite of things that you feel you need to do, but it's also worthwhile to take a really strict look at it and really ask yourself like how many of these things are things that you actually um, need to do in a sense that there are actual consequences to other people, and which are the things that you perceive that you have some sort of internal stress or self-pressure to actually kind of get done because of whatever perception that you might have. The easiest way to do this, honestly, is to write it all out on a piece of paper. Think about all the things that you're overwhelmed with, all the things that you feel you need to do. Write it on a piece of paper and go through it line item by line item. And you start to realize, asking yourself as you look at each item, like, what does this impact? How urgent is it? Do I have to do it now? And you start to realize that a lot of the things that you have in your head are probably just self-perceptions of things that don't really actually matter or don't have any real impact on the main goals that you actually have. So once you do that, you'll be able to then start saying, hey, I actually don't have any time that I put aside for myself. And so enjoyable activities here where, we are setting aside time for us to pursue this kind of stress reducing activities is actually one of the most important things. Alone time, which is basically where you pursue your hobbies, the little things that bring you joy. It could even be something as simple as just reading. For some people, it's just sketching, drawing. Other people, it's just reading, collecting certain things. So hobbies are really important. For some people, it might seem frivolous. For some of you that are very type A personality types, probably you might be thinking, hey, like that's such a waste of time. It could be more productive. But let me assure you, nothing is more productive than finding time to recharge yourself. Okay. Other enjoyable activities here that help reduce stress as well is time with loved ones, or even just going for some outdoor walks. Outdoor walks will probably be classed under low intensity activity that will allow you to kind of help upregulate that same part of the nervous system that we were talking about earlier, the parasympathetic nervous system, and help you feel a lot better, help your body recover a lot better. Remember, rest, which is the sleep part, which we talked about in the previous lesson, is not enough. It's good to have that, and you must have that, but you also need the recharge component of things, which is basically the stress reduction aspects. Okay, so those are the three main ways you can kind of reduce your stress. The last one here is more related to the nutritional component, which is in the previous module. Hopefully you have watched that one already, but I want to re-emphasize this part again. If you eat well, you get enough protein and enough fiber in, you take care of that brain-gut axis very well. It supports stable blood sugar. It actually reduces your stress to some degree. And more importantly, it reduces your stress-driven cravings, which we know when you reduce your cravings, you don't give into eating so much junk food, or you don't give into your cravings, you actually feel so much better, which by that extension also reduces your overall stress. So in summary, look, your sleep is essential for fat loss, your muscle recovery, and controlling your hunger. And chronic stress can also make weight loss much harder for you by increasing your cortisol and cravings, basically adding a lot more resistance to your journey. And so managing both of these things will actually give you a solid foundation from which to progress from. The Think of sleep and stress as the foundation of everything from which you're going to jump off from. As you can see in this little diagram here, if you don't have that sorted out, you're just one, day of poor sleep or one highly stressful event away from everything just feeling like it's going to crumble. All right, so that's it. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, but we'll see you in the next module.